What's up? Welcome in on this day of change and new opportunities. It is a sweet Thursday as we get the Sweet 16 started. It has not been a sweet start to the center field season for Stevie Wonder. O'Neal Cruz for the Pittsburgh Pirates. What a damn circus going on in Queens right now, but we got our first win of baseball season because this game is already over the 6.5 run totals, so there's nothing bad going on here. Plenty of stuff to talk about on today's show. We're going to set the table. Our magic coin is returned for our Friday Sweet 16 games. Absolutely. Our boy Michael check in. Ooh, yeah. Dig it! Unless you're O'Neal Cruz, and then dope. Dude, have you seen these yet? I know you've had other stuff going on. I reposted the video of the 2 consecutive plays. He looked like an absolute clown. And allegedly this offseason, we spent more time working with O'Neal Cruz on his defense. Who spent more time working with me? Because the way he tracked the first fly ball to center, I get it. And you and I both know this, but probably better than anybody does. My favorite part about watching the first baseball game or 2 of the season for your particular team is the insane overreactions that come out of that. My phone last night after the Giants game, dude, people acting like the Giants lost Game 7 of the friggin' World Series last night. It's Game 1 of 162. Did they look like shit? Yeah. Guess what? 81-81 still on the table, baby.
Well, and I'm just watching those O'Neal Cruz plays right now, and that is a gong show. And I'm waiting for the sun was in my eyes excuse there, but holy cow, those are bad. It's just like everything else, right? When the NFL starts and the Seahawks play their first game and probably crush whoever they're playing, the other team is going to be, the fans are going to come out of the woodwork. Oh, our team sucks. Fire everybody. Bro, relax. It's not a big deal. You will be fine.
RELAX, says Aaron Rodgers.
The Giants
just
will be fine.
Chill.
Although something that I saw, I don't know if this changed because I was doing other things last night too, but the Yankees put up 7, and Aaron Judge had a giant donut.
He took the sombrero last night.
And so someone in my other group text on baseball said that is the most Aaron Judge thing ever. And that was very interesting. What did you think? You had it, I think, second screen last night. What did you think of the broadcast? Because the broadcast has been getting ripped, and I don't know what to think of it.
I'm glad you brought that up because all I've seen all morning is people whining and bitching and complaining because that seems like that's the actual national pastime in this country now is whining, bitching, and complaining. It was Netflix's first baseball broadcast. Baseball is, as slow as it might move, is an insanely hard sport to broadcast. So I'm not going to sit here and dump on Netflix. There was things I thought that they did really, really well last night. There's other things, and you know where it comes from, T, and we talk about this all the time. It comes from the purest baseball freaking dust mongers sitting in their corner going, don't mess with my game, and if you hit a home run, you should just round the bases like you've done it before. That's all the people complaining about it because it was new, it was different.
Yeah.
I wish I could read you verbatim what my dad said last night. Those of you that were in the chat section of the show last night, you might have seen it, but I think that's part of it is it's new, so we just automatically have to hate it. There are some things that they definitely could do better, and I bet you by the next time they have their next baseball broadcast, they'll do exactly that. But I'm not going to sit here and hammer a network. For their first broadcast, I thought the booth was really good with Maddie and CC and Hunter Pence. And again, I'll say it in as many damn times as I want to, because last time I checked, my name's on the marquee. How about our boy Matty Vass? Leave San Francisco. Let's give or take, and it might have been later than this, at 11:30 p.m. Eastern time last night.
Mhm.
Sounds just as damn good on this game right now that's on NBC and Peacock between the Pirates and the Mets. And you know what I love about Matty, and when you get a chance to listen to the audio from O'Neill Cruz's first blunder in that first inning, it's his reaction is so not forced. Like, it's just his natural, like, Cruz is running in, took 2 steps in, and then you can see the ball start to fly over his head, and it's like, and it's over his head. Like, Matt has such an incredible way of making the moments of games, especially in an opening day setting, so good. So I thought Netflix did an okay job. Again, they could do things better, but it was the first day on broadcast. People freaking relax. And all you baseball I am so sick and friggin' tired of, we talk about the gatekeepers in hockey all the time. Like, hockey fans are like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. It's no different in baseball with all these old timers that don't want anything freaking changed.
Yeah.
And I'm just tired of it, dude. It's like, freaking relax, man. It's new season. I'm excited. I told you Brandon Lau was going to be a baller for the Pirates. All he's done today is hit 2 home runs. He's seen 4 pitches.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just relax. It's game 1 of a 9-month marathon, people.
Dude,
chill.
We are in this for the long haul right now. So, I love Matty V. I think he's a consummate professional. He's the voice of the show. Like, he is what he is. I love bringing in CC. Hunter Pence is a absolute character. Why would you not want to bring him in? I didn't like the game starting 20 minutes past the scheduled time. I thought that was kind of annoying, but I mean, like you said, it's the first one, and they're in this for 3 years. So I'm sure that the next thing that they do, well, what is it? It's the home run derby, right? And then, or the Field of Dreams game. I don't remember where they cross on the calendar, but I just wish that there wasn't the standalone. Or let me take that back. If you're going to have the standalone game, it should be like football where the defending champion is playing. I think that's fair. No shade to the Giants and Yankees, but I think that's a concession that we should see next season when they do this. I think that would be a cool thing. But, I saw Jameis getting a lot of heat. Give me a break. That guy's funny, man. That guy is funny.
Did you catch the part where L. Duncan asked him if he actually paid for his crab legs? And he said he's trying to procure ways to get crab legs. I mean, it's different, so people don't like it. I'm excited to see what happens, and we've talked about this a lot. Netflix is in the storytelling business. I think the home run derby on Netflix is going to be ridiculous. And as you mentioned, they'll get that Field of Dreams game, which I believe is the Phillies and Twins this year. Don't quote me on that, but I believe the Phillies are in it. That'll be their next actual broadcast there. But, again, a great play-by-play guy can carry a lot through, and they had the right guy. I'm so jacked tonight to watch Jason Benetti get his debut spot on NBC during that Dodger Diamondback game. So plenty of other baseball stuff that we'll get to here. T and I are going to put some teams, players, and managers feet to the fire here. Some people that have to produce this year. We're also going to get in, as I said, into the Friday Sweet 16 games. But speaking of college basketball, this came out this morning, and this is something that really friggin' bothers me. And Matt McMahon, who was the head coach at LSU, who took over after Will Wade left the program in just disaster zone. We go back, speaking of guys that I don't like in college basketball, Sean Miller and Will Wade, a big part of all that nonsense before that essentially pushed forward creating NIL. If you think about it, they're like, hey, let's just legally pay these guys so we don't have to deal with this nonsense. Well, now he's back at NC State because they've asked Matt McMahon, thanks, but no thanks, pack your bags. And they've brought Will Wade from North Carolina State back to LSU. So now at LSU, from a coaching standpoint, you have Kim Mulkey, you have Lane Kiffin, and you have Will Wade. And that is quite the interesting trio of unliked coaches in their respective sports. I don't get the heat that Kim Mulkey gets all the time. I think she's a fantastic coach. She's brash, she's outlandish, whatever. You know how I feel about Lane Kiffin. this Will Wade thing stinks out loud, and I think this is a terrible look if you're LSU.
Yeah, I saw that this morning. I'm like, what are they doing? Like, what is are they intentionally trying to have, like, are they going to put them all together in one of those, like Tuesday night sports shows to pump up each other's sports, and you're going to go down to the freaking Buffalo Chip and see all these clowns all in one place. Like this move just does not seem like it's a good move for LSU. Now, I didn't think the Lane Kiffin move was good, and I mean the jury's still out, but that seems to be getting positive reviews. So we'll see. But I don't see how you bring back a retread that you blew out the first time.
Yeah, we need to come up with a nickname for that trio there. I still can't get over the night that Lane walked out with Kim Mulkey at one of the LSU women's basketball games this year, and it was like I felt like sending him a tweet because he probably would have responded to this at the time, and just been like, "Hey Lane, blink twice if you're okay," because he's just like she's holding on to his arm and everything. This is a terrible look. We know it. We know a lot of the look in college basketball is not necessarily a great thing right now. We're seeing some great things happen on the coaching carousel, like Randy Bennett coming out to Arizona State. Does Billy Donovan, who didn't say that he had no interest in the Carolina job, he said he was focused on the Bulls, which is easy to do because you only got 10 games left there. I can guarantee you Billy Donovan will not be the coach of the Chicago Bulls next year. I asked Mac this question last night, and I'll pull this off the wall while I ask you because we've talked about this picture before. You want to see clean-shaven Mike, brace yourselves, folks. If you're driving, you might want to pull over for this one. Do you think Billy Donovan wants to deal with the current state of college basketball? And Mac brought up a good point, and we played this on our social channels this morning at Mike Arana Show everywhere with Snapchat because we're not 12 and Snapchat sucks. Mac said, what is really the difference between college basketball and the NBA? So he thinks he would have some interest in taking the Carolina job. Do you agree?
I mean, I don't know. If he gets blown out of Chicago, wouldn't that be the second NBA job that he's left or gotten pushed out of? So, and I don't remember how old he is, but he's got to be at the point where, I mean, he doesn't need the money. That's obvious. He just needs a challenge. So could I see it? I think he'd be a really good fit for it. I think he'd be the shot in the arm that the program needs. And once again, Hubert Davis was destined to be in this spot because he's following a legend. Well, if you brought in Billy D to clean up the mess a little bit, you get the fans excited, you get the players excited about that program because he's got the bona fides, like he's done it before. So if you're Carolina, why don't you shoot your shot? And I mean, what's the worst he's going to tell you anyway? That's the guy right there. Holy smokes. Look at those two.
Look at that picture, dude. 60 years old, Billy D is. So still a spry chicken as far as coaching goes. And, I mentioned the other day, I got Kansas fans all in a kerfuffle the other day on social media because I mentioned if you're Mark Few and Kansas and Carolina are open, is it time to look at some of those places? I was told I was an idiot, and it was a horrible take from one person because Mark Few's never leaving Gonzaga. Well, first of all, never say never. Billy Donovan was never leaving the University of Florida either, and we saw what happened there. And with the Kansas situation, all the Kansas fans want Jacque Vaughn to take that job if Bill Self happens to step down. And I understand that. But here's what I'll tell you. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be a good thing. You want Jacque Vaughn. And the Kansas fans are worse than the Carolina fans. The Carolina fans are now okay with going outside of the Carolina family. Kansas fans are like, you need somebody that knows Kansas. You need somebody that loves Kansas. Like, you mean to tell me you'd rather have Jacque Vaughn as the head coach of Kansas? And no shade on Jacque Vaughn. I think he's going to be a fantastic coach. But you'd rather have Jacque Vaughn as the coach of Kansas than Mark Few if he's available to you? You're blind. You're dumb. You're O'Neal Cruz playing center field today.
I just don't get I don't get the hate for, I mean, I do get it for Bill Self, but give me a break. This guy has won nearly 80% of his games there, of the games that he's coached there, he's won. So 4 out of every 5 games you're winning. Like, this guy just wins everywhere that he goes. they just win the title like 4 years ago? I know that seems like ancient history in Lawrence, Kansas, because I don't know if you can think back that far, or maybe it's because now they're a football school because they got a nice new shiny building. But like, I don't get the reason why you'd want to blow this guy out. Maybe it's because 22, 23 years, it's probably time. But they want Jacques Vaughn, obviously, because he played there. But yeah, I would make a phone call to Mark Few. I mean, Randy Bennett left St. Mary's. We never thought that would happen. So things happen, man. Life changes, situations change. Maybe Mark Few looks at his situation now and goes, "Oh, I'm going into a new conference. This conference kind of blows. So maybe I need a new challenge." I don't know. But he's like 63, 64, I believe. So you know, when you get to the age that these coaches are, like Few and Izzo and Self and Donovan, it's not about the money. It's just about a legacy and a new challenge and making somebody else into a winner. That's all it is. And he may have reached his plateau at Gonzaga. I have no problem with that. If he wants to go get a new challenge, go get a new challenge. That's fine.
I think another interesting name, and you know, who knows, it could happen as early as tonight, is Kelvin Sampson. Does Kelvin Sampson feel the same way with his tenure at Houston? I mean, he's got I don't quote me on this exact record, but it's somewhere around the ballpark of like 320 and 90 in his time at Houston. And he's another guy that, you know, the only thing the dude hasn't done in college basketball is win a national championship. And if he can't get there this year with Houston, we know he was on the doorstep last year against Florida. But, you know, he's another name that's going to come out. And the other thing that I'll mention on Kansas fans here before we transition into some baseball talk is it doesn't always work out great. You know, Arizona State people were like, Byron Scott would be great for Arizona State. Why? Because he played back here in like 4 decades ago? No. And Jerry McNamara, I think, is the perfect case study. He's back at Syracuse. He is a freaking legend at Syracuse. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be great at Syracuse, like John Shire at Duke. Now, Duke is a different animal here. It's a little easier to take over the Duke program than it is for anything. Mac brought up something on Tuesday's show that the more and more I think about this, the more and more it'd be hilarious, and I don't think it's going to happen. But could you imagine if Bobby Hurley is the new head coach at North Carolina? that would separate families on Tobacco Road.
That would get the two programs back into the everyday conversation in a hurry. Like,
yeah, and it's funny because like one of the things that came out about Hubert Davis, and this was from an anonymous source, so take for that what you will, but there's people upset that Hubert Davis is not at North Carolina anymore because nobody feared Carolina with Hubert Davis there. So I think, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Now you've got NC State open. Maybe Matt McMahon should just go take that job since Will Wade took his. I don't know, but we're going to see more and more of the coaching carousel kind of unfold itself.
You want to, while we're at it, why don't we just send Herb Sendek back to NC State and then we can complete this circle, right?
We could. Chris Mack just replaced Brian Hodgson at South Florida. Let's get into some baseball stuff. As opening day is alive and well, we've got some interesting games. Balls jumping out of the ballpark early, which is always a fun thing for us. We always love to see that, especially early in the season. It's going to tap my want to get us back into dollar dingers here a little faster, but Chase Mydroff has a homer already for the White Sox as well. Nationals and Cubs just underway, and some more games getting ready to start here in just a minute. But, you know, with every year brings new pressure, T, and there's new teams, there's new managers, there's new players, new places, some people in old places that need to produce. So we're going to go through a list here. We've each got 3, either managers, players, coaches, or a combination of thereof, that really are under the spotlight, under the pressure, feet to the fire. And I'll get us started here. And it's both New York managers, Aaron Boone and Carlos Mendoza. You're in the Big Apple. You've got big expectations. You've got 2 of the top 3 payrolls in baseball. And in Mendoza's situation, he's in a lame duck year because his contract has a team option after this year. We know the pressure that's on the Mets to perform. One of the things I love about opening day is we dive through it when we do our baseball preview. So we know guys have moved on and they've gone to new places. But when you see that first set of starting lineups, And it's like, oh yeah, Luis Robert Jr. is now the center fielder for the Mets. Like, we knew he was there, but like when you see him come out for the first time, Carson Bench getting his major league debut today for them, there is a lot of pressure on this Mets team, big time pressure. And I said it, one of my bold predictions was that Carlos Mendoza is going to be the first manager that gets shit canned this year, because I don't think this team is going to live up to the high expectations early, and that's going to be the quick trigger and the quick hook, and we always see it there. I think Aaron Boone's got a little bit more runway because he just had them in the World Series, but again, we know how things are in New York. I'm watching Aaron Boone and Carlos Mendoza very, very closely this year. Give me one of yours.
I'm going to go in reverse order here and save the best one for last. But I'm going to start with Cal Raleigh in Seattle. Last year was absolutely phenomenal season. He signs that extension and then he just went off. And that extension is a genius extension at this point, because that was on the cheap for the Mariners. Look, I'm expecting him to take a step back here. I don't see him replicating 60 home runs. I just hope that he doesn't feel like he has to hit the way that he hit last year in order to lead this team. Like, he is a great catcher. He's got a great pitching staff to work with. And the good news for the Mariners is that Brendan Donovan should be able to alleviate some of the pressure on him. But Cal Raleigh is the guy that I'm looking at. I'm not even expecting 40 home runs. He just has to be consistent and provide really good defense for this Mariners team. I hope he can do it.
I'm going to actually stick with the Mariners, but I'm going to look at one of his teammates here. And it's hard to believe, and it's crazy when you say it out loud. And I'm going to use one of your terms here. Julio Rodriguez. He's in his age 25 season, to quote the man, the myth, the legend, TJ. He's triggered plenty of contract incentives with his top 7 MVP finishes. He's making a lot of money. It's time for him to do better than finishing 6th or 3rd in the MVP race. I think if the Mariners are going to do what I believe they're going to do this year, it's time. And it's crazy because he's only 25 years old. But it's time for him to live up to, hey, you're not an all MLB type player. You're not an all-star. We're paying you to be an MVP. We're paying you to be the face of the franchise. We're paying you to carry this franchise. Now, whether or not he loses votes to his teammate who you just talked about in Cal Raleigh, if Cal Raleigh has another great year, that's fine. But I think it's time, if the Mariners are really going to take advantage and grab what's in front of them in a very open division, that it's time for Julio Rodriguez to live up to, we're paying you to be an MVP. That's what we need you to do.
I mean, I think I look at him and Bobby Witt Jr. as kind of the same vein here. And we look at what Bobby Witt Jr. has done with his opportunities in Kansas City. And I look at Rodriguez and I'm like, kind of unfair, but like, why aren't you doing this? Why am I not hearing about you every day as I should be? So yeah, no, I totally agree. I think this is a big year for Rodriguez.
All right, give me your next one.
It's your San Diego Padres. Your San Diego Padres made some changes over the offseason. They have an ownership issue that is foremost right now, but this team has to win. Like, we're beyond the point where going to Petco is just a fun experience. Like, the team, they switched the uniform colors, they spent the money, they brought in superstars. We need to see something for this. And if the fans in San Diego, since now it's a one-sport town, they are not going to sit there and tolerate a mediocre Padres team anymore. They will stop going. And this is like the year. I know we all gave you crap about your prediction of the Padres, but I think they have to win the division to get into the playoffs. And I don't know if they're I don't know if they're ready. I don't know if they can do it. I love King. I love Tatis. I don't love Machado, but I love what his abilities bring. But this team has to win. They just have to win.
Yeah, and I do think fetching an MLB record sale, which it looks like they're going to be. We're hearing the owner of the Pistons in that mix, the owner of the Warriors in that mix, amongst some others. Very likely that this thing gets settled by April, and that was kind of the caveat to me saying, hey, this Dodger team didn't get any younger. This Padre team has to win now. An infusion of new money, an infusion of a new ownership group, and settling that's been hanging over this franchise for the last couple of years is what propels them to that. The flip side to it, and I know it's a bold prediction, is they could completely nosedive and they're going to have to start shipping off pieces of this roster. And with some of these contracts and F them farm players that AJ Preller has gone through with this team, there's pressure all over this organization this year. That's why I think it can get done. If the sale of this team lingers on to the middle of the summer here, then, all bets are off for me, and I'm going to jump on the Dodger train with you guys, which is, not a hard one to jump on. My final one here, and it's a team that's kind of put themselves in this position, and they're getting all kinds of love right now. I think they made themselves look like a-holes with the way they handled Tarek Skubal's arbitration situation. It's the Tigers. This is a team that, the Tigers are good again and Detroit sports are good again. Listen, Detroit fans, it's at an all-time high for them. With the Lions, we know the Red Wings with the Larkin injury, that's going to kind of nosedive that ship, and it already has. But the Pistons and what the Tigers have done. Do we not forget that they choked off the division lead last year in grand fashion? They've also got 2 straight 5-game series losses in the ALDS. They screwed around, like I said, with Skubal's situation. I think he's a Met by the end of the year. And they bring in a notorious a-hole as a teammate, Framber Valdez, who is supposed to help level out this. I think the pressure on the Tigers this year, especially because of a team like Kansas City that's young, dumb, and doesn't know any better, and has the horses that Kansas City has, I think Detroit is under immense pressure to get out of a playoff series this year and make things happen. I am 1,000% watching this Tigers team extremely close this season. Give me your last one.
Well,
go ahead on the Tigers. Sorry.
Back on the Tigers, I hope that for his sake, I hope that Verlander has something left in the tank. But this could get very combustible very fast in Detroit. This team starts off they go through the first month and a half and they're 5-10 games under 500. I think they're going to pull the chute and start making some changes. But you're exactly right. It's another one of those teams that, okay, so it was a nice story when they started winning. Well, now the expectations are a pennant. You need to win the pennant now.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it. All right, I know you got one more that you've been waiting on here, so I will let you take the floor on this one, and I'm actually going to do something I don't do on the show very often. Shut the hell up.
Well,
as we're waiting for that, I wanted to throw this out, too, since we were just speaking about the Central here, before I give you a chance to run with this. Do you see who the Guardians are starting the season facing, pitching-wise? Logan Gilbert, Brian Wu, George Kirby, Luis Castillo, Shohei Ohtani, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. That's how they start their season.
Yeah, good luck with that. I know teams are high on Cleveland this year, but I don't know. They're not. I think they're middle of the pack for me. All right, you ready, dude? Because I am going to unload on the Philadelphia Phillies, the Buffalo Bills of baseball. Every year, this team almost win. They're supposed to win every year. They find some bullcrap way to lose in the playoffs. Last year, it was the throwing error in the playoff game by Kerkering. The year before, they couldn't score against the Mets. They won 1 game. The other 3 games, they scored 5 runs. The year before that, they were up 3-2. They go back home and lose 2 home games to an 84-win Diamondbacks team to lose the pennant. This year, they'll probably lose to freaking Sharks with laser beams on their freaking heads. Like, this team, I'm exhausted of the Phillies. You bring in all these players. You sign Kyle Schwarber, who's great, but he's home run or nothing at this point. The guy can't hit his weight, although he was on Abbott Elementary. I guess his acting career is coming up. This team is just they're just exhausting. And I'm done with hearing about the Phillies. I'm done with the Bryce Harper thing, Trey Turner, all of them. Go do something. Go win something. You haven't done it.
Man, you're gonna hate me this year because, as you know from our MLB preview, I picked Bryce Harper to be National League MVP and the Phillies to win the World Series. So that's going to be an interesting one. But you said that the other night, and that's why I wanted to kind of go back to this today. The Buffalo Phillies, I don't think there's a better descriptor for them than that, because that's exactly what it is. I mean, the comedy of errors on how you lose playoff games and playoff series. I'm very interested to see what happens if this team doesn't get the job done. I don't think there's a better descriptor for the Philadelphia Phillies than the Buffalo Bills of Major League Baseball. I mean, I think you friggin' nailed it there. Sweet 16 gets underway, or gets going tonight. You can't put them both. It doesn't get going underway. English is fun. We're going to focus on the Friday games, but I wanted to ask you before we get into the Friday games, is there anything that you love tonight? Mac and I, very uncomfortably last night, basically agreed on all 4 of the games, which means if you were watching last night's show, take the under in the Texas-Purdue game because we said over. Take Iowa to beat Nebraska because we said Nebraska. Take Arizona to cover the spread because we said Arkansas. And take take Houston either with the points or on the money line because we were both on Illinois. Do you like anything that jumps off the page tonight before we bust out the magic coin?
I'm really excited to see how Nebraska shows up tonight because it's a conference opponent that they've seen before. They lived up to the hype, if you will, in the first game, but there was the second game against Vanderbilt that was super impressive performance. So they're going to need and look, you're playing all tough teams the rest of the way. It doesn't matter; they're all going to be tough. So I'm interested to see what Nebraska team comes out. I'm interested to see what Houston team comes out, basically playing home games with the Kelvin Sampson thing kind of hanging over their heads. They could easily mail it in against Illinois. I don't think they're going to, though. I think they're going to come out, and I think they're going to pull this off.
All right, we're going to focus on the Friday games, which would be your upper left and lower right side of that beautiful yet small bracket now, as we're down to the final 16. And of course, the first one, the big one that everybody's talking about, gets going in Washington, D.C., where they're actually going to get to see some good basketball in Washington, D.C. What a hell of a concept there. We've got St. John's and Duke. I dropped the stat last night on Mac that the Duke has never won a national title without beating St. John's on their pathway to do
phenomenal.
So. Phenomenal. I know. Crazy stuff to think about. Give me your first thoughts thinking about this game, St. John's and Duke, because yet again, we need the coin because we are completely different on 3 of these 4 games.
Well, Duke has had, it seems like they've had a pretty tough time, but this is a team that they just win in the tournament. They just win. So I wasn't too concerned about the opening round game. The second game upped my anxiety a little bit about Duke. But now you got a St. John's team coming off a huge win in the second round. And I find it difficult to count out any Rick Pitino coach team at this point.
Yeah, and it's been interesting to see the Johnnies in the tournament so far because there were times during the year that Rick Pitino backed off of what is his signature, if you will, that full court pressure. And we've seen him ramp it back up in the first 2 games. I'm also really intently focusing on Patrick Ngagba tonight, who's going to play his second game back from injury, but he's got his hands full with Zuby Ejiofor. And the one thing that I will say about St. John's, and I've said this to a couple of different people here, and it's hard when you look at the scores of their games to go, that doesn't make any sense, but when you've actually watched their games in full, like I have a couple of different times, each of their games so far in the tournament, and then going back to the Big East tournament here, they do really struggle when they're being given pressure back at them. And that's, I think, something that I'm interested to see the chess match between Pitino and Shire tomorrow night when this game gets going. 4-10 on the West Coast, 7-10 on the East Coast. Can St. John's force Duke into making turnovers? Because we know with the injuries that Duke is dealing with, and it doesn't sound... I mean, it's going to be kind of a game time decision, but it doesn't sound like the lean is that Caleb Foster is going to be back. So if that pressure from the Johnnies comes in at a high level and Duke can't handle it, this thing could be a freaking whitewash here. The coaching matchup, again, the dork in me loves the chess matches in certain games. And there's a lot of people that don't think John Shire is a good coach. I don't buy that theory at all. I think this one's going to be fascinating here. When we look at it, which side of the table are you on here? And then I'll give mine, and obviously we need the coin to figure it out.
Well, I'm on the St. John's side of this. That 6.5 seems really, really. I just think that's way too many points. So I'm taking St. John's with the points.
Yeah, and I do agree with that side of it. I don't have a great feel for this game. I think, I mentioned Patrick and Gogba. Also,
Mhm.
obviously Cam Boozer. We don't need to mention him by name, but Boozer, I'm interested to see how they match up from a defensive side from St. John's standpoint with Boozer, and what do they get? What does Duke get out of Ngagba? I don't love a side on this one. I think this game's going to look really sloppy because of the pressure. So I would tend to lean to the under, which right now, if you're looking at the under and you're thumbing through your whatever your favorite betting app is, most of them about 141 and a half here.
Yeah.
So I'm under. You're on St. John's plus 6.5. You know what to do, man.
All right, here we go. And it's tails. We're going to go with St. John's with
We're
the
taking the
points.
Johnnies in the first one, plus 6.5. That moves us to the next one. Speaking of games I don't have a great feel for, a team that I'm shocked is still playing basketball, Alabama. They take on Michigan at the United Center, which will be very much maize and blue
Mhm.
tomorrow night. And, you know, the thing with Bama has been the thing with Bama all year. Their shot selection, their shot profile, if you will, if you're looking into the dorky side of the metrics there, they're either on or they're not. And this Michigan team has been able to kind of coast their way through their first couple of games. But we talked about the LJ Kaysen injury back when it happened when they played Illinois. And I think this is now where we find out how much of a detriment that is going to be to Michigan, because we know what Nate Oates is going to do. He's going to play Arana basketball. We're going 84 feet for 40 minutes, and we're up your ass the whole time, and we want the tempo to be our way. It's something that I think Michigan can very easily do. Michigan definitely has the advantage with their bigs over Alabama's, who I have not been impressed with all year. Everything tells me to maybe stock this game on a live line here. What are your thoughts on Bama to Michigan?
I think this is going to be a Jerry Lewis scoreathon, to be honest with you. I think you got a couple of really good offenses. If they get going, like look out. I mean, Michigan is ninth in scoring and Alabama is first. So these teams definitely know how to put points on the board. The injury factor is a concern. I'm also surprised Alabama is still playing. I thought Michigan was very impressive against St. Louis, just because I had a lot of hopes for St. Louis, and they pretty much just took them right out of the ball game. So this is going to be, I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. Like we're both surprised Alabama's still playing, but I think they got a little bit in the tank left. I think Michigan's just a little too much, but I couldn't get myself to pull the trigger on 9.5. I thought that was way too much for this type of matchup.
Well, and I was kicking myself because if you got this early, and what's one of the things we preach on this program all the time, and I think it got kind of lost in the shuffle as we were getting ready for our baseball preview show, you could have gotten this at 10.5. And I loved it at 10.5 because I think no matter how this game flows and how it ends up, the 10.5 I loved a lot better than 9.5. And the thing with Alabama is this: 19 of 42 from three against Texas Tech. They blew the freaking doors off of a Texas Tech team that we all thought was going to handle them if Alabama even got to them. But we've also seen Alabama, like last year, they hit 25 threes against BYU. In their next game against number one seeded Duke, they went 8 for 32 and lost by 20. Michigan, in their three losses this year, 21 of 74 from the three-point line, which is 28.4% for you math wizards out there. They didn't clear 32% in any of the three games. So if Michigan's not knocking down the three, I like the 9.5, not as much as I would have liked the 10.5. I'm on the 9.5 side here. You're on points. I think it's over 173.5 last I looked. So let's flip a coin again. I think it's tails. You're pulling a Vegas Mac right now.
I am pulling a Vegas Mac. You're supposed to read my mind there. It
Is
is
that
a
tails?
tails. We're going with
All
the
right.
points.
Those of you tuning in, wondering why the hell we're flipping a coin, this thing has actually won us more games than it's lost us. We started doing this in the college football playoff. Let's move on to the next one, which will be the nightcap from the Capital One Arena in D.C. Tickets as low as $366 for this one. Michigan State and UConn. And I think this one, to me, is definitely the most compelling of the 4 games because I can see this game going either way. It's Izzo, it's March, it's Hurley, it's March. You got kind of a wash there. What does Michigan State love to do? They love to get you out in transition and run you off the floor. And we saw that in both of their games in the tournament. It's been a staple of them. But what else does Michigan State do? They hit the offensive boards incredibly well. Well, that's something that UConn can handle in both aspects here. So when I look at this one, and this is a factor in for you betting nerds out there like us. Dan Hurley, 15-1 in his against the spread in his past 16 NCAA tournament games here. Sparty and the Huskies, what do you think off the top?
Well, I love Tom Izzo in March. I just love what he brings to the sideline. It's hard to count out any Tom Izzo coach team in the tournament. Like, this team is very interesting to me just because they didn't finish first in the Big 10, Big 19, whatever it is. But this team comes to tournaments and they just ball. And I love this opportunity for Michigan State. A part of me says, I want Michigan State because, well, I picked them. The other part of me says, well, I want Michigan State because I don't want a Big East final like Mac once. So that's why I'm going with Michigan State.
I think it's gonna be interesting. I love the battle that we should see between Cohen Carr and Terrace Reed, two guys that have been absolutely fantastic in the tournament so far for their respective teams. I think UConn, the one thing that a Michigan State team can make you do a lot is get into foul trouble and get into foul trouble early. If UConn can avoid the foul trouble here, I definitely love the play on UConn. So you're on Michigan State on the money line.
Yep.
I'm on UConn on the money line. Let's see if the coin maybe likes me for the first time now.
Let's see. No, it does not.
Good Lord. This coin is stupid.
But hey, Mac's right. A St. John's UConn final would be unbelievable. But a Michigan State Duke final for the right to go to the Final Four would be equally as fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%. All right, final game on the list. We don't need the coin for this one, but we'll get into what we think about it. We talked about our impressive teams and the teams that we really were impressed with and players that we were impressed with. And for me, 1,000%, it's been everything that has to do with Iowa State. For those of you that think TJ Otzelberger is going to leave Iowa State to come to your blue blood program, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's not going to happen. So don't get your hopes up there. Hold on, I'm locking this in live. And
he's
TV.
He's not going back to UNLV either, you idiots. You had your chance.
But Tennessee, we know what it is for Tennessee. And Tennessee's shot the ball very well so far in the NCAA tournament. And I'm waiting for that other shoe to drop with Tennessee. And the most impressive thing for me was when you go back and you look at the box score from the Iowa State-Kentucky game. And if you were watching that game and you were watching it early, Iowa State was down 18-6 to start that game. So do the math here, folks. They outscored Kentucky when it was from 18-6. They outscored them 76-45, including 51-33 in the second half, and that was without Joshua Jefferson. Now, his injury status obviously plays a huge part in this, but I think the one thing that everybody's forgetting about Iowa State is you have Nate Heisey off the bench, who might be one of the best 6 men in all of college basketball and in a very talented group of college basketball players this year. You have a veteran point guard in Tamin Lipsey that settles this team. He calms this team. You've got Momcilovic. I mean, they've got everything you could want in a team except full health right now. And if they get healthy at the right time here, and this is the other thing I need people to understand, and it was in our newsletter. By the way, sign up for the damn newsletter, MikeAranaShow.com/links. It's free. We're not smart enough to spam you. Comes out once a week. But there's also going to be a heavy Iowa State crowd in Chicago at the United Center as well. This is Tennessee playing a virtual road game against a great defensive team, and a team that has all kinds of options on offense. I think as much as we talk about Izzo, we know Rick Barnes in March is also a great bet. I don't think he is here because this Iowa State team has got it going on.
This Iowa State team is on an absolute roll right now. That Kentucky game, when they got down early, I didn't feel like it was the end of the world. You know, like 12 points is a lot, but I was they got time. They got time. And then just to see what they put together after that was absolutely incredible. I hope Jefferson's able to play. I'm sure they're going to find every way to get him into that lineup if they can. This team shoots the rock very well from three. This team is they just hound you on defense. I think Tennessee's in for a long night. Sorry, Rocky Top. I think you're done.
Yeah, and you know, the other big key here, and we talked about the Kentucky Iowa State game, 29% turnover rate Kentucky had against that ball pressure that Iowa State puts on you, which is relentless. Well, that's bad news for Tennessee. And I will say this, Jacoby Gillespie might be one of the better point guards that nobody's talked about all year in college basketball. But this Tennessee team, the one thing that's kept them from being in the elite level of teams all season long is their ability to handle pressure. Yeah. And Kentucky, I think, was a little bit better suited for it, and they shit themselves in that game. And I'm kind of expecting to see the same thing here. We're both on Iowa State minus 3.5. This one was at 4.5. It's dropped down to 3.5. Even better here. So when you put all these together with what we have, we've got St. John's plus 6.5. Over 173.5 in the Alabama-Michigan game. We went with Michigan State on the money line. Thanks a lot, Coin. Thanks for nothing. And we're taking Iowa State minus 3.5 here. So on this particular site, I was able to boost it by 30%. But if you don't have the boost, plus 13.16. So $10 gives you about 130. $10 for us gives us 180. That's where we're at. Any final thoughts from you on your go-home show for the week, T?
Hate me today with Michigan State and probably hate me tomorrow, too. Dude, we have what do we have? 3, 6, 7 more games of baseball today. That's incredible. A great opening day. But to be honest with you, I can't wait to get into the first full week when these teams start playing every day. Sometimes the breaks get a little bit, you're like, why this team we just played yesterday and it's a Friday and you're off today? What's going on? I know the Angels opened up with 4 in a row with that team that won few years ago. So, but let's get into this baseball season. I noticed, I don't know if you had any financial interest on it, but I noticed there was a successful ABS challenge.
There was. Early in that game, we actually got to see this one. There you go. I fed all the Netflix haters last night. We saw that one today. Matt Boyd of the Cubs, a guy who I told everybody last night, I think is another sneaky good pick for National League Cy Young. Mm-hmm. It's 2-2 in the fourth, but he's already plunked off 7 Nationals in 3 innings pitched. So Matt Boyd off to another good start. Twins and O's just got underway. Joe Ryan on the bump for the Twins. That's Mac's National League Cy Young winner choice. Your National League Cy Young winner takes the bump today against the Tigers, Nick Pivetta of the Padres. So plenty of fun stuff going on tomorrow. Don't forget, in the second half hour, I'm going to be joined by Fox Sports Radio host of the Morning After Pod, and gambling guru Jared Smith in the second half hour. So make sure you're here for that. We're going to talk about where he's attacking the NCAA tournament, what's left with it, his approach to betting baseball. He's earned the nickname for damn good reason, and we're going to get into this tomorrow. He is the father of first innings, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. So for everybody behind the scenes, for Vegas Mac, for T, I'm Mike. You know the drill. Happy baseball. Happy Sweet 16. We'll talk with you tomorrow.